Hi everyone, welcome to the CMI B2B Research Roundtable. We are here with 4 of the top thought leaders in the space. We are here with Ardath Albee, Carla Johnson, Nick Panayi, and Gary Van Prooyen, and we are going to tackle some of the hardest issues from the CMI research. So let's dive in. Clearly there's a connection between having some level of documentation in your strategy and your feeling that it's working out for you. So let's talk about that, and Gary, I think you have some thoughts.
I think it's absolutely essential. And the reason, in using our own example from my company, is if you asked 100 marketers who owns content in this company, you'd have 100 hands raised because all of them truly believe that they have some ownership of it. And the reality is they do, but it's not complete ownership or it's not the same level of ownership. So to be able to articulate what are the content roles that people play, whether it moves from the product development and the solution marketing folks through a content operations or an IMC function and out into field marketing, it's critical. Otherwise, you're going to see people bumping heads, redundancy.
I agree with you, Gary, and I think a big part of the strategy is also it helps you all along the way decide what's the purpose of each piece of content that you're doing. How does it fit into the bigger picture of what we're trying to do? So without that strategy, you don't have purpose-driven content. And so you see that in the results, is that those people who have that actual documented process, you can see that they know what they're doing and everybody's working in concert, and so they're naturally more effective.
But you know, Carla, I would argue that there's an issue with just the concept of strategy. I would argue that a lot of marketers don't understand what that means, and what they think is cobbling together a bunch of tactics is actually a strategy when it's not. Mm-hmm. So I think there's some confusion about what a good strategy should include. And so what are some of the things that you tell your clients to include in a strategy?
Yeah, you know, I think one of the main things is that we have to be able to tie content to business objectives. You know, what is it we're really trying to do for the companies that we work for and move forward? And I think that's the biggest thing that marketers miss, is that this has to have a strategy that ties to business.
Yeah, I would agree, by the way, in terms of the taxonomy, right, of content strategy. Even the most basic definitions of, to your point, tactic, strategy, objective, plans, all of those things together, various people have various definitions. So putting it in one document in and of itself, I think, will help tremendously. And I think there's another basic human element here, and that is we keep talking about the user of content, the reader of content, and how little attention span they have. Well, as marketers, I think we match that, if not beat that, right? So we do chase the shiny object. We do have the shiny object syndrome. So unless you have a focus on what it is that you're trying to achieve with your content or your digital marketing in general, you will get distracted. It's that fast, it's that dynamic, that you have to keep yourself focused sometimes.
In many ways, when we think of a documented content marketing plan, a lot of times people think of the topics and the themes, but ultimately it's the teams that really are the glue, and having clear definition on the roles and who's doing what and the tools and the technologies to make that happen, that's a fantastic add-on or another layer to that content marketing strategy. Do the hard work up front, do the planning, and really make sure that you've got a documented plan in place, and then work on execution.
Well, that's what brings the consistency and repeatability. Otherwise, you're reinventing the wheel every time you do something.
Here's the challenge. We do live in a very dynamic world, and there are opportunities that will arise next month that I have no idea what they're going to be like right now. So I think one of the things that you have to be careful is not to over-prescribe how you show up in the marketplace. I think there's a fine balance between guardrails and an absolute roadmap, and you cannot deviate from it, right? So I think it's more of a guardrail approach, and it is, what are we trying to achieve? What does success look like? And what are the general boundaries that we want to stay within? Because you want to leave enough flexibility and room for movement so that the digital marketer of today or the marketer of today can operate. That's the beauty and the fun of being a digital marketer in today's world, is that there are so many infinite possibilities of what you can do, and you can really prove out your value, and you can be very strategic and thoughtful. Your money can work harder than the next guy, and you can be a lot more successful that way. If you over-prescribe, you're going to take away that kind of creativity that they have. So I think it's guardrails, and I think it's something that It's all about getting around a table, agreeing. That's the value of this whole, agreeing on the same taxonomy and the same set of goals and going after it, and leaving people enough room to operate.